Ubuntu as original style, and contributionism means we really depicted talents and skills for the greatest benefit of everyone in the community. Tema existe porque sociedad completa, porque esta filosofia política e situação sociais, negativo canal de novac, a definição desta ideologia optimista de uopće postoji kandidata sa svega konstruktivne sigurne bile daleko nacionalnosti. Naroda poznanja ekvitirana na značnicima i na docentatora ureda. Samo etikata koja će podrobnosti odgovora. Dakle, ono što sam provizio, povijesti, utjecaj povijesti na svijet protiv nas. Sam se spisao kao da je svoj ulogan i principiran razumije za jasno da zapravo svi mi to žele piše, to imamo obaveze pravih osoba koje smo pretvorili za rođenjem pomoću tih nekih listova i slično.
Well, many people will be aware of the fact that humanity is under attack. We're under attack by in so many different ways, but one of the best and simplest ways to describe it are the chemtrails that are happening right above us, right now. For people that are not aware of this, wake up. These are not clouds. These are not vapor trails behind aeroplanes. These are poisonous chemical substances that are being sprayed into our skies. And on this beautiful island of Kutch is today being completely under attack. They have not stopped spraying chemtrails on us since early this morning. There are toxins and chemicals and microscopic organisms and viruses and bacteria in there that are specifically put in there to do the planet harm and to create certain conditions, biological and ecological conditions that suppress humanity, that poison our land, poison our water, poison our bodies, poison the air. We are under full-blown attack. Third World War has begun. It's just the people are not aware of it, and the war is coming down from the sky.
Thank
First of all, one of the common questions is, is this a moneyless society? Is this a lawless society? Who's going to make the laws and the rules? And the answer is the people will make the laws and the rules in their own community. The whole plan is to deconstruct government, decentralize government, so that people run and rule themselves in their own communities, like the old city-states in some way, like the city of Rome and so forth, where we had city-states where people start to look after themselves and make their own laws for their own communities. But it's not just a lawless society where anyone can make any laws. Obviously, we need to have some structure and we need to have guidance. And for this purpose, we look to nature and we look to what we refer to as sacred geometry. Now, sacred geometry has encoded in it all the laws of nature that we find around ourselves. And we often, as human beings, find ourselves operating outside of the laws of nature, outside of the sacred geometry. And this is why we find ourselves in conflict with all the things around us, in conflict with nature around us. So we need to start embracing and resonating with the sacred geometry around us, and the whole structure for guidance and suggestions for what the community should be doing will fall on the Council of Elders. It's a tribal council. All ancient people used to have a tribal council, a council of elders. And that doesn't mean you have to be old to be on the Council of Elders. You have to be wise, and you have to be trusted, and you have to be respected. So, in terms of the sacred geometry principle, the Council of Elders we propose should consist of 13 people, 12 around one, just like the Christ consciousness philosophy. People will know what I mean if they've studied this. 12 around one, like the 12 disciples around Christ. And many things in nature are structured along these simple sacred geometric principles. And this will really serve our communities very, very well and very simply. And the council's task is there to guide and advise the people and look after the interests of the community, not after the interests of individuals at the expense of everybody else. And therefore, the appointment to the Council of Elders will be an open voting system. So everybody puts their name down and says, I, Michael Tellinger, vote for John Smith to be on the Council of Elders. Now, if everybody knows that John Smith is a crook and a thief and a liar, then they'll say, Michael, why are you voting for John Smith to be on the Council of Elders? So it exposes me as having ulterior motives. So it's a very simple way to control who we appoint to the Council of Elders. They have to be trusted, respected, and honored by the people in their community to make the best decisions for the whole community. Yeah, Ubuntu way of life. Yes. The education aspect of an Ubuntu contributionism community is critical. It is ultimately the foundation of our future society. The way that education happens today has got nothing to do with teaching our children and ourselves as adults any skills for life, any way to survive. The education system as we have it today was very cleverly and maliciously put together by the banking families. Specifically, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies were behind this current education system. They've planned this 200 years ago already. This has been in the making, and brought to us as a new education system. Today, it's become an indoctrination, mind-numbing, slavery system that takes our children away from their parents at 12 years of their lives and fills their head with lies, with indoctrination, and programs them to fear authority, to automatically respect authority and obey authority without questioning anything. So it turns our children into a future obedient labor force. That's it. We learn all these subjects at school that have got nothing to do with skills for life or being able to survive. But what we do when we leave school is we get a certificate, right? It's a piece of paper. A piece of paper that does nothing. And now we feel that we can go looking for a job with a certificate. We have this idea that we'll get a job because we've gone to school. And what is a job? A job is a slavery system. Job means slave. Every time a politician says we're going to create 1 million more jobs, they're telling us they're going to create 1 million more slaves. Because when you've been taken in as a slave into a job, when this corporation no longer needs you, they throw you out. The corporation carries on existing, but the people keep dying because they've been thrown out and discarded by the corporation. This is why the corporate structure is so dangerous to humanity, is so dangerous to living, breathing human beings, because the corporate structure system is inhumane. It is not of human origin. And this is why we need to get away from it. Stop competing and start cooperating. And the new education system in Ubuntu communities is a simple, elegant system that teaches all of us, all of our children, from the youngest of ages, the skills for life that we need to survive, to create, to invent, to do whatever we feel or our hearts desire that comes from our own abilities to create and to contribute towards our society. Now, the many community projects that we put in place, and there will be many, they'll keep growing and growing and growing, in technology, in arts, culture, agriculture, science, any area that you can imagine. We'll have master teachers, masters of their specific field, that will become the teachers. You can't call yourself a teacher unless you are a master of what it is that you do. How can you call yourself a teacher teaching people how to bake bread if you don't know how to bake bread? So if I'm going to send my child to learn how to bake bread, I want them to go to a master baker and learn that skill from the master baker. If I want to teach my child how to build a bridge, I send my child to an engineer, master in engineering, to learn how to build a bridge. And so it goes, how to create free electricity, how to learn about chemicals and learn about space and astronomy and archaeology. All these areas will be covered by master teachers who then become the teachers in our community. So from the earliest of age, we will not have classrooms or have the needs for classrooms, because by the time you are 16 years old in an Ubuntu community, you will know how to build a bridge, how to create electricity, how to bake bread, how to make cheese, how to work with wood and metal. You'll know everything about the stars and the planets. You don't need to sit in a classroom and learn that from a textbook. So that is how I see an evolution into a whole new education system that by the time you're 16 years old, you'll know more than all the professors in the world combined. Yeah, this is a really important question and a very important way for people to start understanding and molding their personal perception and understanding of Ubuntu and contributionism and how we're going to transition from the current system into this new system of abundance. And I also must just remind you and the listeners that an Ubuntu contributionism system is not a self-sustaining community. We are creating communities of abundance. We create much more than what we need, so we can share it with all our neighboring communities. In the beginning, we'll be selling it to our neighboring communities, because that's how we're going to make money to create new community projects, and how we create new systems that create components for community projects, so eventually we're not dependent on anything from outside of our community. But in essence, we go from creating an abundance, creating at least 3 times as much as what we need, so that we can use the 1/3 for ourselves, and the other 2/3 is available to selling to outside communities. And this is how the contributionism system destroys capitalism wherever it finds it, because capitalism can never compete with this contributionism system. And the people around us will automatically want to adopt a contributionist system, because they'll see all the people in our community living in paradise, having everything available to them for free electricity, free food, free everything. So they'll also want to do this. And so we're not going to have to impose this on anyone. It'll happen automatically and naturally, very, very quickly, once we have the first contributionist model in place. And then what will happen is it'll start having an effect on the big cities and the big metropolitan areas, where people really live, squeezed together like sardines in a can. They come there looking for a job, looking for a better life, and find themselves trapped in a system that they cannot escape. Most people in the city don't live there by choice. They live there because they were offered a job, or they thought they were going to get a job, and they got a much worse job than they were hoping to get. And this is the problem. And they can't just give up their job and move into a small town, because there's no job for them in a small town. And this is where, in the transitional phase as well, the People's Bank could play a critical role in releasing people from the cities. So, on a national level, if we could implement a People's Bank that issues money for the people, by the people, tax-free and interest-free, and this money is used to set up public works and community projects in every town or city or small village, that means that anyone from the city can go back to their town or village where they came from, or wherever they want to go, and there'll always be something for them to do. If they want to start a bakery, the money will be provided by the People's Bank, because that's the job of a People's Bank. If you want to start a music school, the money will be provided by a People's Bank. People's Bank won't provide money for people to buy houses and cars. It provides money for infrastructure, for creating abundance for the people in their communities. So this is just a very quick step to allow people to think outside the box and say, wow, a People's Bank will release the people from the cities to go live wherever they want, as long as their intentions are to benefit the whole community, not just to enrich themselves at the expense of the rest of the people. The other thing is, once we win a small town like this with an Ubuntu party, and we start to implement these community projects, this free supply of everything to the people, many people in the towns and cities have families and friends that live in towns and small towns and communities. Many people have a cottage out in the country, and they go away for a long weekend, and they wait. They can't wait for the long weekend to escape to the country and go stay in their beautiful cottage by the river or in the mountains and have 4 days of sanity, and then they go back to the craziness of the city. So what will start happening is the people will start moving from the city to the small towns and seeing how everyone there has everything they need. And they too, when they go there, all they have to do is work for 3 hours, and suddenly they've got access to everything they need in that community. And at some stage they're going to say, well, why am I going back to the city? Why am I going back to a job, to work like a slave? When I come here for the long weekend, everything is available for free. All I've done is work for 3 hours, and I've learned new skills. And so this, how I believe, will be one of the things. There'll be many other ways that the cities will become depopulated, but this is possibly one of the ways that it'll start happening. But at the same time, the people in the cities may organize themselves in suburbs, in smaller parts and sections of the city. So they start working like small communities and small towns that make up the suburbs, that make up the big cities, and implement the same philosophy. Provide their own electricity supply, everybody gets free electricity in that suburb, and then they create community projects in that suburb that then benefits everybody in that community. Once the model has been set up, it's then probably not going to be very difficult to implement that model wherever you go in the world. Remember that everything we do in our communities is done with a very good and specific plan. So we create at least 3 times as much as what we need for our community. So we know how much is going to be distributed to everyone, and there's no argument about that. But we're not always going to be able to sell everything we grow and manufacture or produce. So what are we going to do with all the extra stuff? we're going to put it into Ubuntu warehouses. Think of it as a Walmart, but a Walmart of the people. And these Ubuntu warehouses will be available for anyone else to come and buy their stuff. But they'll be able to buy it for much cheaper than they can buy in any supermarket at the moment, because we'll be putting it in there virtually for free, because we're creating it for free. Any one of the people in our community will get some sort of an electronic card as an Ubuntu community member that allows you to go to this warehouse and take whatever is allocated to you based on the big plan. And there's always going to be too much stuff. So you will never run out of stuff. But what we'll do by doing this is basically creating a new alternative, a new supply chain of food, a new supply chain of technology and furniture and clothing and anything we do in our community projects, away from the current corporate structure and the corporate control that keeps it away from the people. People will be able to access it very, very cheaply and very easily. Not only that, but what we've actually also done is created a new alternative currency system. That card that you have becomes a new currency that cannot be destroyed by the Rothschild banking empire. They can't close your bank account. They can't stop you from getting your food or your clothes or your technology, because it's in our Ubuntu warehouses. We made it. No one can take it away. And this is the major masterstroke that I think when people see this, they go, oh my goodness, I see where you're going with this. This is so simple. So in a very, very short period of time, we can create an alternative supply of food and everything we need and create an alternative currency system with our Ubuntu cards. Remember, you can take that card and you can fly to Italy and go visit your friend in Rome and go report to the Ubuntu office there in the Ubuntu community and say, hi, I'm Michael, I'm here. They say, hey, Michael, swipe your card, welcome. This week we need the chemical engineers are developing a new material over there. Please go report at this time for 3 hours, work with the chemical engineers, go help them out, and you'll go work, do your 3 hours, and then you got access to all the things in the Ubuntu warehouse for the whole week. That's how simple it is. So we've created not just a local, but an international currency that cannot be collapsed by the Rothschild empire. This is a frequently asked question. Do you have any examples of a working Ubuntu community? The answer is no. Because if we had an example of a working Ubuntu community, it will already be affecting the world. It will be destroying capitalism everywhere. We'll have Ubuntu towns springing up all over the world, because this is not an idea that is confined by countries or borders. This is an idea that goes right across the planet. It's a philosophy that resonates in people's hearts and that they want to implement themselves. So the only real examples of an Ubuntu philosophy is when we look back at ancient times, when people lived in their communities. They didn't have money and they didn't have jails. And when the European settlers or invaders arrived 500 years ago to settle the whole planet and colonize the whole planet, they found all ancient cultures didn't have jails and they didn't have money. They implemented money and they built jails, and the rest is history. So basically we can look at ancient cultures for guidance on how to structure this Ubuntu community and then implement it into the modern society, and this is where I call it contributionism.